Almost half of the game, the back end of the game, is written in PHP. And PHP is a fairly powerful, fairly straightforward C-like language for the web, for the ones who do not know. Now, the front end, as I said, was done in Flash. However, we used a tool by Adobe called Flex, which is a programmer-friendly Flash. Flex is fairly recent, and the reason why we picked it is because, at last count, about 98% of computers that were connected to the internet had a plugin, a Flash plugin installed. So to us, we can spare that extra 2% of people that can go download the plugin and they can enjoy the game how it was meant to be done. But Flex didn't have its own problems. In fact, it's not quite complete as a language. There's few things about it that I'm not going to go into details because I'd be yammering for hours and hours and hours. But the tool set, unfortunately, is frustrating on several different small levels that ends up having a lot of trouble in making a pleasant development experience. However, there is a new version of Flex coming out in a few months, so I'm hoping that the tool would have been improved by that point. The glue, the data, where all that stuff is kind of stored, we use a database called Postgres, which is considered to be the world's most advanced open source database, which means it's free. Very important for an independent game developer. And many sources also say that it is the fastest database out there, second only to Oracle, which costs $100,000. So it's a pretty good deal. So the three of them interact very well together on the website. Now, we do have, I couldn't get away from my roots. Being a game developer, I love C++, and we wanted to have the best experience for the battle as we possibly could. So the battle server is written entirely in C++. And that takes over, as I mentioned earlier, on the clouds when a battle occurs. And as much as we wanted to, we couldn't get away from JavaScript. Like, it's always there, it's always in the room, it's the awkward guy. We're going to do our best to try and mitigate that and sort of tell him to move away, but if we don't manage to do it this time, we'll do it for our next game. Okay, so September 22nd came around, and it was time to turn the lights on and see what happened. Yay! People love the game. This was really big. This was a really, really big sigh of relief for us, because after launch, within 6 weeks, we managed to get 4,500 users registered. This is across 80 countries around the world. We've had 75 battles played so far. And these numbers may seem small, but we're quite happy because we've done this with zero marketing. All of this was just letting people know we existed and word of mouth. So to us, that means the game does not suck. And that's really important to us. Another thing that we strived as a company after to do with launch was the fact that we wanted to have community involvement. And what I mean by that is the fact that a lot of games out there, they release the product and they just let it go, and they watch from like behind the screen of how things are going. But that's not Antic. We ensured that one of our staff members, if not two, was available at least 12 hours a day to answer questions, to listen to feedback, to just meet and say hi to the users that we have in store. And you know what? It has really, really paid off, because the people that try the game, like it, love it a lot. And we've gotten tons of compliments of them saying, you know what? I've never had such an awesome, cool experience before. Not only is the game fun, but I'm talking one-on-one with developers, we're talking about design decisions, why they did this, why they did that. Heck, I can even mention tips or suggestions. And we do that. Because, for example, one of the things we do is, every so often, because the game is part-based, we have contests where we say, this is a new part that we're going to release in 2 weeks. I want you to name the part. Or, Ask the community to give suggestions on what parts, actions, and what special ability should be. And people love that stuff. It makes them feel that they're part of the game. And you know what? We repay that, because to us, we listen to these people. And every 2 weeks, on Monday morning, we sit down and we figure out what we're going to do next. And it's usually broken down roughly like this. A third of the things that we want to schedule for is bugs that we want to fix, whether things that we found or things that our users have found. Suggestions that our gamers have told us explicitly. And of course, our feature list that we want to do. Now let's talk about the bad, because there has been some bad things. Now, for the people out here who are web savvy and who have dabbled in IT or are professional IT guys, you guys know that Apache Web Server is considered and is the most popular web server in the world, and in some cases the most advanced. So I've had some moderate IT and web experience in my days. I've written websites before, I've managed these types of things, I know how to get myself around a Linux shell. However, Apache kind of threw us in for a bit of a loop. In fact, here is a direct representation of Apache's CPU and memory consumption on one of our servers directly correlated to the amount of pain that I receive on a daily basis from this. And it has been a bit of a struggle to be able to tweak the configuration exactly the right way. And it's amazing how much little information there is out there to be able to find and how to do this right. So the fact that you can just throw up a page on a website and expect it to work doesn't really happen, especially if you want to be able to support as many people as you do. Another bad thing, which is just kind of which is unfortunately something that we can't really mediate at the moment, is the fact that we have so much stuff that we want to do, but we have so little programmers to do it. And that's just simply the way things are. I mean, we all have awesome ideas and great ambitions, but there's just too little hours in the day to get them all done. So we really have to pick our battles. We really have to selectively look down the list and say, okay, we really want to do A, and we really want to do B, and analyze to the point where we're really comfortable that, yes, we are sacrificing B at least another 2 or 3 or 4 weeks in development, so then we can do A, because it makes sense for us to do. Sometimes that requires a leap of faith, and sometimes we can really iron out the logic of it. But many times we sit there and we frustrate, and we're like, we need more power, we want more programmers, but we can only support so many people at Antic. At least right now. So let's talk about the ugly. The internet is ugly, in my opinion. And the reason why I use such a harsh word is the fact that if you look at it and how it's evolved, it is a mess. There are 9600 baud modems, fiber optic cables, routers, proxies, firewalls, what have you out there. Some of them work, some of them don't, some of them are compatible with everything else, some of them don't, and it ends up becoming quite frustrating when you have one guy who really likes your game and really wants to get the most experience out of it, and he's having such an issue, and we can't reproduce it. We cannot figure out why. It's just simply, sometimes we get lucky, or through a bit of knowledge and research, we can figure it out. Sometimes we can't. So for all you IT guys out there, make sure port 8998 is open at work, so then your employees can play junk battles. I trust that, I will tell you that their productivity will go up when they have a chance.